In this video, I'll explain how to build a bulletproof rental property business that protects your wealth and maximizes your profits. I'm Santiago Cueto, board certified international business law expert and best-selling author. Most investors treat rental properties like a hobby. They buy a house, they find a tenant, and they hope everything works out. That approach leaves you exposed to massive liability and costs you thousands of dollars in missed opportunities. I'm going to show you in this video how to build rental property investments the right way. The way that protects your assets and creates sustainable wealth. Here are the 5 essential frameworks every serious investor needs. Framework number 1, structure your investment as a business entity from day one. The biggest mistake I see is investors buying rental properties in their personal name. This is financial suicide. When you own property personally, you expose everything you own to liability. One slip and fall, one lawsuit from a tenant, one accident on your property, your personal assets are now at risk. Smart investors never own rental properties personally. They use limited liability companies. An LLC creates legal barriers between your rental property and your personal wealth. If something goes wrong with the property, the lawsuit stops at the LLC. Your personal bank accounts stay protected. Your other properties stay protected. Your retirement accounts stay protected. Here in Florida, LLC formation is straightforward. Florida offers strong asset protection laws that make LLCs even more powerful, but you need to set them up correctly. I see investors create LLCs and then operate them incorrectly. They commingle funds, they fail to maintain proper documentation, they pierce their own corporate veil without even realizing it. Each property should typically sit in its own LLC. This isolates risk. If one property has a problem, it doesn't contaminate your other investments. You also gain significant tax planning flexibility when you structure entities properly. You can choose how each LLC is taxed. You can shift income between entities when appropriate. You can create a holding company structure that adds another layer of protection. Most investors skip this step because they don't understand it. They think it's complicated or expensive. But setting up proper entity structure costs a fraction of what you'll pay if you get sued without the protection. This isn't optional, it's foundational. Here's framework number 2. Build your acquisition system around due diligence and contract negotiation. Successful investors don't just look at properties and make offers. They run systemic due diligence on every potential acquisition. This means pulling property records, reviewing title history, checking for liens and encumbrances, verifying zoning compliance, confirming permit history for any renovations or additions. In Florida, we have specific disclosure requirements. Sellers must disclose material defects, but many don't understand what qualifies as material. Some actively hide problems. Your job is to verify everything independently. Never rely on seller representations alone. I always recommend investors include strong inspection contingencies in their contracts. You want the right to inspect everything: roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC systems. But termite damage is particularly important in Florida's climate. A termite inspection isn't optional here. It's mandatory if you want to protect your investment. Contract negotiation is where most investors leave money on the table. The standard purchase agreement isn't designed to protect buyers. It's a middle ground document. You need to negotiate terms that give you maximum protection and flexibility. Longer inspection periods, broader contingencies, seller credits for repairs, clear timelines with penalties for delays. I've negotiated hundreds of real estate contracts. The investors who succeed are the ones who understand that everything is negotiable. The asking price isn't final. The closing timeline isn't set in stone. The repair responsibilities, those can shift also. You need to approach every acquisition as a negotiation, not a transaction you accept as presented. Florida's real estate market moves quickly. Properties in desirable areas get multiple offers, but speed doesn't mean you skip due diligence. It means you have your systems ready to execute quickly when you find the right property. Now, before we move on to the 3rd framework, if you're finding this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe. I share strategies like these every week to help you build and protect wealth. All right, here's framework 3. Create ironclad lease agreements that protect your interests. Your lease agreement is your most important document as a landlord. A weak lease costs you money and creates legal headaches. A strong lease protects your property and gives you clear remedies when problems arise. Most landlords use generic lease templates they download online. These templates aren't customized for Florida law. They don't address common issues that arise with rental properties. They leave landlords exposed when disputes happen. Florida has specific requirements for security deposits. You must provide written notice about where your deposits are held. You must follow strict timelines for returning deposits or providing itemized deductions. Your lease needs to comply with these requirements exactly. One mistake and you lose your right to keep any deposit money, even for legitimate damages. Your lease should also clearly define what constitutes normal wear and tear versus damage. It should specify maintenance responsibilities for both parties. It should address how repairs get handled. It should include provisions about property access for inspections and repairs. It should outline the exact process for late payment, including when late fees applies and how much they are. Here's what most landlords miss. Your lease should include strong provisions about property condition and tenant obligations, pest control responsibilities, lawn maintenance requirements, HOA rule compliance, prohibited activities like running businesses from the property or keeping unauthorized pets. Florida law gives landlords reasonable eviction procedures, but only if your lease is properly drafted. You need specific language about default, cure periods, and remedies. Without this language, even a non-paying tenant can drag out an eviction for months. I draft custom lease agreements for my investor clients. The difference between a generic lease and a properly customized lease is thousands of dollars in prevented losses and legal fees. And here's framework 4. Implement proactive asset protection beyond basic LLCs. LLCs are your first layer of protection. They're not your only layer. Sophisticated investors build multiple protection layers to make themselves lawsuit-proof. Florida offers unique asset protection tools that investors in other states don't have access to. Tenancy by entireties is one of the most powerful. When married couples own property as tenancy by entireties, creditors of one spouse generally cannot reach that property. This protection extends to rental properties in some circumstances. You should also consider umbrella insurance policies. These policies provide liability coverage above your standard property insurance. For a few $100s per year, you can add $1 million of additional coverage. This is cheap protection that every investor should carry. Another strategy is separating property ownership from property management. Your LLC owns the property. A separate management company handles the operations. This creates yet another liability barrier. If someone sues over a management decision, they're suing the management entity, not the property-owning entity. Now, estate planning integrates with asset protection. Trusts can hold your LLC interests. This protects the property from estate claims and provides smooth succession planning. Florida's trust laws are favorable for this type of planning. Never wait until you're facing a lawsuit to implement asset protection. Courts can unwind transactions made in anticipation of litigation. You need these protections in place before problems arise. This is preventative legal work that pays itself many times over. Asset protection isn't about hiding assets or evading legitimate debts. It's about structuring your holdings so that you're not an attractive target for frivolous lawsuits. Plaintiffs' attorneys look for easy targets. When they see proper entity structure and insurance coverage, they often move on to easier prey. And here's framework number 5, scale strategically through multi-entity tax optimization. Once you own multiple rental properties, your entity structure becomes a wealth building tool. This is where sophisticated tax planning creates extraordinary value. You can structure a parent subsidiary LLC system. A holding company at the top owns multiple property LLCs below it. This structure allows you to consolidate administrative functions while maintaining that liability isolation. Your holding company can employ family members. It can own vehicles used for property management. It can deduct expenses that benefit multiple properties. You can also create a management company that your property LLCs pay for its services. This shifts income from your rental LLCs to your management entity. You gain flexibility in how you take distributions and pay family members. Florida's lack of state income tax makes entity planning even more powerful. You're not worried about state-level tax consequences when you shift income between entities. You focus purely on federal tax optimization. For more advanced tax optimization strategies, be sure to reach out to your tax professional for more details. Now, building wealth through rental properties requires more than finding good deals. You need proper business structure, you need strong contracts and lease agreements, you need comprehensive asset protection, and you need sophisticated tax planning. Most investors focus on finding properties and managing tenants. The successful investors focus on building bulletproof business systems that protect their wealth and maximize their returns. That's the difference between hobby investing and professional wealth building. If you want to dive deeper into any of these strategies, check out my other videos on entity structuring. I'm Santiago Cueto, your Florida business attorney. Be sure to stay and watch more of my videos right here.